Yes, I think she affected me because now I want it to look pretty from the moment it's handed to somebody. And I really try to pay attention to what people like.
So, you know about the Mentally Strong method.
I do.
And do you remember the first time you did it?
Yes, I wasn't even an employee yet.
Okay.
I did it online.
And what did you think of it?
I was a little scared of it. I didn't want to share my feelings and open up.
Okay.
So I was a little nervous.
Okay.
But I did it.
But you did it. But what did you think about it just from a person, not necessarily with a strong medical background? You got some stuff, and we'll talk about those things, but kind of being challenged to work through some of those things by yourself.
It's the first time I've ever been challenged to do that. I mean, I do talk therapy counseling, but that's the first time I actually had to really look in deep. So it's actually helped, though, since I've been here.
So I want to start with personal vision, because I know, we're friends. I know you. I kind of know a little bit of your story, so I don't want to go straight into that, because that's not how most people would be introduced to the method. Let's talk about your personal vision. And when we talk about the Mentally Strong method and the personal vision, we really kind of make people go broad. It's not just a goal. It's like, who do I want to be? What would you say your personal vision is?
Who do I want to be? I just want to be a decent human being and be accepted for who I am.
Okay. So kind.
Yeah.
So we're going to write it as, I am a kind person.
I think I'm a trustworthy, kind. I think I have a past, but I think that doesn't, your past shouldn't define you at all. And I think there's a such thing as second chances.
Okay. So almost proud of your past?
I learned from it. Yes.
Okay.
I'm proud of what I took away from it.
Okay, I like that.
So I not necessarily am proud of a lot of the stuff that I had done,
right.
But I learned some really hard lessons that I think were for the better.
So are there any barriers to being this kind of person that is accept for who you are?
Like, I still have family that doesn't see me as kind and trustworthy, and they see me as, I think, I don't know, a punk.
Okay.
So they just, they never got to know me, an adult me.
Okay. And that's come up recently with a recent death and having to interact, and the holidays make a difference there as well?
Well, I don't really get together with them on holidays. It's just me and my family here, but I'm just still not accepted. I'm not good enough.
Now,
but
is there any part of you that actually believes that?
That I'm not good enough? I used to, yeah. I totally believed it, but no, I'm good enough. Yeah, it sucks for them because they're missing out, but I do think I'm good enough, but
You still want that acceptance?
Yeah, that's unfair, but I am good enough if they want money, all of them, which that to me is unfair. Because, I mean, I never had money, and it's not my money. I mean, my husband and I saved what we have, but it's just not fair, I don't think. So if they need something, I'm okay. But if it's for me to come to a funeral or come for a Thanksgiving dinner, it's not okay.
So I think we have something to map. How does this make you feel?
Sad.
Is sad a feeling that you often kind of get into?
Yes.
Would you say it gets to a point of depression?
Yes.
Okay. And you're willing to map that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So right now, what makes you sad?
Feeling like I'm not good enough, not accepted.
From the family?
Yep.
Specifically family.
Yep.
Anywhere else you feel it?
Sometimes I feel it at work.
Okay.
I feel like I'm not smart enough. Again, back to the lack of education, I think, is where that comes from. I'd say as a mother, I struggle. I still don't know if I did a good enough job. So with I do feel like I failed my kids. I think the most part is I feel bad that my kids got me so unexperienced. They got me very young. We grew up together, and I think that some of that was unfair. They missed some opportunities. But that's probably it.
But you're doing it. You're putting one step in front of the other, and you know you're good enough. But it's that.
I tell myself I'm good enough, but this reminds me that it's just when these situations come up, it brings it all back up.
Yeah, like what situations?
Like my sister passing away and having to be involved with family for that little bit of time.
I think there's a lot more to your sister passing away than just a trigger. I mean, it's a trigger to the not good enough, because then you had to, the family kind of told you.
Yes.
Basically, right?
Yeah.
But what else came up with your sister passing away?
Her son, my nephew.
Okay.
I feel so bad for him. And he was already, like, my parents had already completely stopped talking to that nephew. So it's funny to me that as soon as my sister passes away, they all want hands in on this kid, but they didn't want anything to do with him before that. So
it reminds you of some of the character things about your family.
yeah.
Right? You feel bad for him. What is there something that resonates with you about that?
Yeah, he had to grow up with a addicted mother.
And who else had to grow up with an addicted mother?
I did.
Okay. So what did that do to you, growing up with an addicted mother?
Made me leave home at a very young age. I realized that I was in a bad situation there, and
so you had to be alone.
Yeah.
You had to be alone at a very young age.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, figuring it out on my own that young was a little difficult.
Yeah. And so he's kind of in that same
Yep.
situation.
He's stuck.
Okay.
And the whole support system around him, they're all addicts. So that's also scary.
And was that true for yourself as well?
What?
That your whole support system was addicts?
Yes.
And what does that leave in a child or teenager's mind when everyone around you, how would you describe that?
I felt invisible.
Alone, invisible.
Yep. Unsafe at times.
Okay.
I mean, I feel bad for him because I feel that you're going to give me a cry.
Did you think you were going to get through this without crying?
Okay. Yeah, I feel that he is around, well, he's a little older. I mean, I was 12, he's 16, but...
You were 12 when you left home.
Yeah. It made life so much harder. And you're missing a lot of the tools to learn how to function through life when you live with a bunch of addicts.
So, no examples.
Yeah. I mean, they lie. They're selfish. It's just not it's not a good situation for anybody to have to be in.
Yeah.
and a 16-year-old especially. Also, I feel like I was robbed at 16 because it's supposed to be sweet 16. You're supposed to have all this, and you're having to pay bills and learn how to adult and feed yourself and work jobs, pay bills. It was just adulting at a very young age. I think he's really lucky to have his friend's mom. She's very motherly, and she's taken him in, and I wish I would have had somebody like that. So I think he's going to be on the right path.
So you wish you had no one when you were 12?
I had my ex-husband. He was my boyfriend at the time, and he left with me because he didn't want me on the streets of Oregon by myself. So I did have him.
But it was like adulting. You weren't a child anymore.
No, I had to, yeah. At that time, in order to go into the Army, you had to have a high school diploma. You couldn't have a GED. So I had to drop out of school, work 2 jobs so that he could go back to school. So, yeah, it was adulting.
Yeah.
And it's hard to get a job that young. I mean, they were crappy jobs. Yes.
I can't imagine you told them you were 12.
No, I was 15. Yeah.
Okay. So we kind of got enmeshed into your childhood already. But do you remember the first time you felt depressed?
I felt sadness, depression at a pretty early age because my mother, yeah, she was expecting her daughter to be a model, and she had all these, an ice skater, and there was just, she had my whole life planned on what she wanted, and it's not what I wanted.
Okay.
And it's not what happened. So that's where I get the not good enough came from very young. The fact that
So she wanted you to be a model.
yeah, she took me to
And an athlete.
yeah. She took me to a modeling agency as a young child to get me into modeling, and right away they explained that I didn't fit the bill for modeling. Little things here and there that they kind of picked you.
Like what?
Like my eyes were too close together. My head is really small. I'm not tall enough.
And do you still struggle with that as a beauty mark?
Well, yes, because that never would have come to my attention unless they said it. And it's followed me forever. And it's true. I wear kids' glasses, so I have a hard time getting glasses because
Does it bother you when we joke about that?
No.
I did.
But,
you know.
We make fun of it all the time. But seriously, my head is tiny. I wear child-size helmets. I wear child-size hats. I wear child glasses.
Back then, that
I
told
didn't know,
you
but that told
you
me
were
from
not
then.
pretty.
Yeah.
Do you believe that you're pretty?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, my husband tells me.
Okay.
Yeah.
But back then, it caused you to believe what?
That I wasn't pretty. I wasn't pretty at all. I wasn't an athlete. I didn't want to ice skate. It's just not stuff that I was interested in. She was so concerned my whole life that I was going to have a baby at a young age because she did.
And that's what you did, didn't you?
Yeah. Not on accident, though. So I planned it to piss people off.
Yeah.
It worked.
So
it definitely worked.
That decision, let's talk about that decision. And were you ever depressed about that decision?
No, I was depressed. I was pregnant at 13. I was depressed about that. So since I was so young, I had no rights. My mother was the one that made the decision for me to have an abortion, and they would not let me keep the baby. So as soon as I was back on the street after having that abortion, I never looked back and never took birth control. I was planning Sam from day one. Mm-hmm. She was kind of like a...
Fuck you, baby.
She was a spite, like, now watch me. I mean, I hid it. I was really good. I didn't get picked up on a runaway report or anything. And then I waited until I was 7.5 months pregnant, and then went to a payphone. Yes, a payphone. And called.
And you were still 13 at that time?
Yeah. No, 13? No. Now that I'm pregnant, I'm 15.
Okay.
Yeah, I almost didn't think I could get pregnant. I thought that they ruined me. I was kind of depressed in between there, 13 to 15.
Okay.
Thinking that she ruined me and I was never going to be able to have children. But joke's on me, that a baby's not the best way to get back at people. So.
But do you have that rebellious spirit?
Yes.
I still see that in you, actually.
Yeah. If you say no, then that means yes. Yeah. Yeah, I'm still very rebellious. It's very true.
Okay.
And I can cut somebody off very easy. My husband doesn't. Mm-hmm. That's something he doesn't understand. But for me, if you're not good for my mental health, then it's easy for me just to never talk to you again.
So you cut off Mom. When did you try to mend that relationship?
When I met my husband, he could not understand being from a family that's still married to this day. He didn't understand not having a relationship with your mother. Mm-hmm. So he really pushed for me to spur a relationship with her until he witnessed it. And then it was like a year later, and he was like, I see what she's doing to you. Mm-hmm. You don't have to have a relationship with her. Mm-hmm. So, which was nice because he understood and witnessed.
It's still
your mom.
Well, and it still triggers current issues that, remember when we started with, what makes you depressed right now or sad right now. Mom's a big part of that.
Yeah, I don't like her at all. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Just a little tidbit, mm-hmm. Another reason of not feeling good enough, or when my parents split up and she went off with my stepdad, eventually it was going to be my stepdad, when she took off with him, she told my brother and I that she couldn't take us with her because she needed to focus on her happiness and her relationship with
how old were you
her
then?
New husband. I want to say 5 or 6. Mm-hmm. So she just ditched us for her happiness. And I can't imagine abandoning my children. Mm-hmm. I can't think of one thing I like about her. Mm-hmm. She was selfish, all about her. She was unkind to most people.
Mm-hmm. Which your vision is to be kind.
Yes. If you didn't fit into a certain kind of person, I mean, she was very, how do you describe her? I'm sorry. She's an awful person. Mm-hmm. It's easier for me to give you an example. My brother and I were young. I want to say junior high. I was junior high, so maybe 6th grade, so maybe my brother was 8th grade. We had saved every bit of money we could possibly get to get my mom this shirt, this blouse that she really wanted from Nordstrom's. Paid an absolute fortune for this stupid shirt, but she wanted it. We were so excited to give it to her. We could not afford to wrap it. So we put it in one of those Nordstrom's boxes with the thing on it, and it comes with all those Nordstrom's bows. And because it wasn't wrapped, she cut the shirt up in pieces. Told us to do better.
And I think one of your love languages is gifts, because I've seen you wrap presents.
So, yes, I think she affected me because now I want it to look pretty from the moment it's handed to somebody. And I really try to pay attention to what people like.
Yeah, well, I'm going to take away the unkind, because that's just downright mean, right? That's more than unkind.
Yeah, if she didn't get jewelry for Christmas or her birthday, she would not talk to my stepdad for weeks. She'd give him the silent treatment. She was very mean.
And how does that play out
And they
now
couldn't afford
with your-
any of that. I don't know.
Right.
How's he supposed to do that? So, how does what?
How does that, because I know you're trying, like, this whole thing with the family recently was a huge trigger, right? It brought up all these things,
Yeah.
mostly about and around mom.
Yeah.
How, well, I think we know how it's impacting you. Now, how do we diffuse it?
I thought
Because we're giving her power that she doesn't deserve.
I know, that makes me so mad. I don't know, because even here, during all this, the messages that were left on my cell phone were just absolutely horrible.
Does she bring out meanness in you yourself?
No,
Like, so what do you mean by in the cell phone?
no, my family, all these people leaving me messages about what a shitty person I have been my whole life, and to now try to step in and want to help. How dare you?
Yeah.
But it's still family. And I was that same kid one time. So I just want him to know that somebody in the family cares and is willing to do anything to make sure he's okay.
And you kind of feel like, since you don't necessarily have a close relationship with him, you look like you're just one of them.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I'm so not.
Right.
So
Right. Yeah, no, I can see that.
I've tried to spend my whole life being different, purposely being different.
But they don't recognize that, and that bothers you.
Yeah. They don't know me as an adult, though, either. They don't. And I didn't do very nice things when I was, a runaway. You do what you need to do to live. So, and I had a very bad temper. So I get...
Rebellious and a little bit of a temper. Tell us, maybe something, because I know we've talked, at least in the last 4 years or so, sometimes this
Gets
we
me
call
in
it
trouble.
Little Ghetto Tara
Yeah.
comes out.
Yeah.
What is this person? Who's she?
That person showed up for the first time when I left my ex. All of this, all the way back from childhood, every angry moment, every angry thought, every injustice or unfair moment just came out. And then finding out that by me doing that to him, now I'm at fault. And what I did was wrong.
So,
and sticks with you forever.
so your anger caused you to do things that you're not proud of.
Yes. And then for such a long...
Were they mean?
Oh,
You didn't actually say what they were.
I
You don't have to say, and that's the thing is you don't have to say what it is, but, you know.
I assaulted my ex.
Okay. So that is not a kind person, right? So when you talk about personal vision, you know, kindness and
Yeah.
trustworthy. So what happens to the kind Tara when she doesn't?
Oh, she gets nasty. She's got some anger in there. She did. Yeah.
And then you feel, I heard a little bit of guilt.
Yes. And I was trying to parent at the same time, and I think that's where I was actually feeling really guilty too, because I was so angry, and that's all I could see is anger at the time, and trying to raise 2 kids by myself and struggling.
And it's just not fair.
Oh,
You've never had help.
So unfair.
You had to.
Yeah. And the fact that he gets to still work and not have to pay child support, and I'm now trying to parent. I'm freaking angry. And I'm a felon, which ruined like career choices and yeah. And why am I the felon if I'm the one that gets beat on for 4.5 years?
Right.
And he gets beat on once.
Right. Right. So unfair.
Yeah. Yeah, the system, I don't have full faith in the system, which is probably also why I'm addicted to watching court TV and stuff like that all the time. Because I think that's completely unfair. That's not fair. It was all documented with Article 15s and him being put in the barracks and all that. And then just because I chose to assault him while he was sleeping, but it was my only chance. Otherwise, I couldn't overtake him.
Yeah. And this is not fair, that you're alone at 12 years old.
No. No. Nah, it's not the way life's supposed to work. Yeah. I still had a doll. I took my doll with me. That's sad. That's who Kaylee's named after. It's that doll. It's just weird.
And how do you think this anger, unfairness that leads to some depression impacts your relationship with God?
Oh. You want the truth? I don't believe in God.
And why?
Because all these terrible things that happens to so many people, how can there be a God? Why believe in higher power when there's so much pain in life? I mean, you put 10 people together and there's a lot of 10 people, most of them are hurting.
Pain, no protection.
And my family was really religious.
So some of it is rebellion.
Yeah.
Well.
So when I got pregnant with Sam and was pregnant with her, my great-grandma was in the hospital dying. And so I decided I was going to at least go say goodbye. She wouldn't talk to me. She wouldn't even let me come in her room. She said I was going to hell. I had a child out of wedlock.
And this was your grandmother or your mom?
My great-grandma. And she said God would never forgive me.
You think he forgave her for treating you like that?
But then I said some choice words, so that's when the anger comes out. So then I was so pissed off at myself for caring enough to go to see her because I had memories with her. When really, after that, I didn't give a damn what happened to her.
Yeah.
And I never spoke to her since.
But the reality is you do care,
I do care.
right? And so and I think this is where the anger is coming from. And I do this too. Like, I do care what people think. I know I'm not supposed to. I know I shouldn't.
But we do.
But when you do and you stuff it and you say, no, I don't care. F you, Grandma. I don't, But that's not how you really felt.
Nope.
What you really wanted to say is, if there is a God, he does love me, and you're wrong, and, I cared enough to come and see you because I care about you. I was hoping to get, for you to say you cared about me too.
Yeah. I never learned to talk like that, though. I didn't have.
Oh, I haven't yet either.
Until I started here, I never. You don't talk about your feelings or your past. I mean, my husband makes fun of we laugh at some of the crazy things, and it's funny, but it's really not. When you look back, it sucks.
And it's not even who you are. You are that kind, trustworthy person, but you don't know how to respond when the other person is not. And so that's where this comes from, the anger.
Yes. Yeah, I'm still very angry. But yeah, that part just never showed up until going through that divorce. When I got back from Germany, I was out of control. I mean, I was so mad. And I didn't want my kids to see me angry. So that's when I would drive. And then that caused me to always get in accidents or...
And you might be guilty of some road rage.
Yeah, following people home. I mean, I did some horrible things, yeah. Horrible. And I look back at it now and what were you thinking? But I was young and stupid, I guess. But some of it is really stupid. I mean, I really put myself in situations that I would cringe if my kids ever did. So.
Yeah. But do you get what I'm saying about the anger? It's that you're not acknowledging that it actually hurts. You're pretending to not care when you do care.
I do.
Yeah. And so you're pretending to not care how your family's treating you right now. And you're just like, I'm going to put up a boundary. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. I'm just not going to talk to them. But that's really just a defense. And it might be the right boundary, right?
Yeah.
But don't let it go uninsightful, because that's when it turns into anger.
Yeah.
Like feeling that pain and grieving. So that gets us into, go ahead.
Some of these people, I bet are awesome. I haven't got to know them. But they're probably, I don't know, maybe, I feel if we would have a chance to get to know each other as adults and start fresh, that some of these people I could have a relationship with. Some of them, no, not at all. I wouldn't want it. But there's some that I'm sure think the same way I do.
So what could you, because you have a desire to have a relationship with family, sounds like.
Yeah, I'd love to.
Okay.
Anytime. If they were to call me up tomorrow and need to talk, I'm here.
So what would that look like? So I'm going to use the word genuine for you, because you don't necessarily want a relationship with all of them.
No.
But there's some that maybe
Absolutely,
you could have
yeah.
a genuine relationship.
And I'm open to it. I just don't know how to start that process. And then I'm worried about starting that process and the word getting out to other people, and then they're thinking I'm having an agenda where they can't trust me, or I don't know. I don't feel like they would ever give me the chance.
Okay. How important is this to you right now in your life? Because it could be a long-term goal. It doesn't have to be a right now goal.
Yeah, right now I'm so happy with my family, my immediate family. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But one thing that you could possibly do right now is to seek the relationship with your nephew.
Yes, which I didn't hesitate. That right away I reached out with help. Financial, talking on the phone, we text, just to let him know I'm here. My kids have accepted him on social media so that they can start to have a relationship with him as well. Mm-hmm. Just trying hard to let him know that we're here no matter what, if he needs anything.
And you said they might not trust me. And we're going to, talk about extra, not immediate family. And that's actually pretty important to you, right? That's part of your personal vision of being trustworthy.
Yeah.
So this might be fear.
Yeah.
That's stopping you from possibly having a genuine relationship with someone.
I see that.
Yeah, and that would be a whole nother map, mapping out fear, what causes you fear, and so not all of these things are, right now, what do we need to do? But sometime in your life, that might be something to take the time to map out and decide what you want to do with that.
I think when this happened, it made me think that time was running out.
For mending relationships and stuff like that. Yeah. Time is running out for
mending relationships.
Mending relationships.
Because they're addicts, they're all going to die young, I feel.
Did you feel any time running out with you or in other areas of your life, not just mending family relationships? What else did your sister's passing?
Her passing, that's the first sibling I've lost, and I think that it made me sad. We had some really good times. Mm-hmm. And we wasted. I wish we wasted time in not having a relationship. I just really wish that I would have known her as an adult. Mm-hmm. I only have memories of her as a child. That sucks. And most of them are good memories. But meth makes you a different person. She was not this same kid she was. Mm-hmm. I didn't know this sister. I never tried to get to know her because she was manipulative and selfish. Mm-hmm. And it was like dealing with my mother all over again.
So we've talked about this a little bit. you don't like to use this word because you feel like you're not supposed to grieve her because you didn't know her very well.
Yeah. Yeah. I kind of kick myself for grieving for her sometimes because I was like, does she even deserve, would she care? But.
Right, but we've talked about that's where the anger comes from.
Yeah.
When it's not reciprocated, right?
Yeah.
But do you care?
Oh, I care. Yeah.
And so say that.
Sometimes I care too much.
Can you say that?
I care too much.
No, that puts a negative on it. Can you just say, I care?
I do care.
So you need to grieve.
Oh, grief is hard.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. I mean, I would hope that they would be proud of me as an adult. All this, plus some, plus a lot, I didn't let drugs take over. I didn't become a shit person. I didn't have mental health help. That was not a thing to reach out for help then. I didn't have medication until...
Well, and you're generally proud of yourself. But this part of you, you're not proud of.
No, she's done some bad stuff.
Yeah. And what did we learn about where this comes from?
This comes from not being good enough.
Mm-mm.
Because I care.
Mm-hmm. And you're trying to pretend like you don't.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I do care. I do care. But I have at least tried, especially in the last 4 years, I think I've come a long way, to realize I don't like this person at all. And I don't want to be that person. I don't want to be that, the car. Thank goodness for Rory, he really helped me, but the car was such a trigger for me that as soon as I would get in it, I'm cussing and yelling and speeding and riding, or, right up close to people, and just not a decent person. And it was Rory that helped me see myself as absolutely ridiculous and immature. I mean, you say it how it is. Yeah. I mean, it was. You're acting like a complete baby and then blaming everybody else for it. And that's my decision. So now I had to make the decision to...
And that's superficial. That's on the behavior side. And you've worked through that. But it still comes up.
Oh, yeah.
And what I'm trying to get you to realize is that this is why.
It's because I care.
And you can diffuse it by acknowledging why. Because we're not always going to get the reciprocation.
No. No, we're not.
And our world teaches us that if someone doesn't care about us, then we have to not care about them. But
I do care.
But you do care. And that's who you are.
Yeah. Yeah, I do care. I do care what happens to them. I think about all of them often. As when it was really good, when we were 5 and under, we had really great family. We had fun times, and even growing up with my sisters and brothers up until, 12, just, I don't know. I thought having a big family was something I always wanted too. And then I always wanted to be a part of this huge family and to be able to hang out with cousins and aunts and uncles, and then I'm the one that's completely shunned off. So it was a little fitting. It was almost like, just like when we got stationed in Germany, I almost thought that was on purpose, to put me as far away from family as possible and make me figure out how to do it.
Yeah.
So.
Well, and this one's going to hurt a lot, but you care.
Yeah.
And everything about...
And when she passed, all of it's left unsaid. And
when was that? I actually didn't know that your mom passed.
she died of breast cancer. I'm trying to think. It's been, how is it for 9? Approximately 13 years.
Okay.
She used to leave.
Did you grieve this?
No.
Why?
I didn't want to give her the time. I pretended it didn't happen. I didn't go to the funeral, didn't watch it. I completely ignored it like she was a stranger. I know that's not healthy, but it was easier just to ignore it. Like I didn't have a relationship with her already, so it was kind of like how it still is, no relationship. But no, I did not want to give her the time of day. And then when my stepdad passed, I did kind of grieve that a little bit, just because my stepdad was actually he was my dad's best friend. So he was actually in the room when I was born. So I did kind of grieve him because I really loved him. But I was really angry at him for abandoning all of the family for just my mom. He abandoned his best friend, which is my dad. He abandoned all his kids. But I did want to go to his funeral for my brothers and sisters. But I didn't go.
Oh, you're going to get some homework. So you know the method, so you know that the next thing is to organize things, and we don't treat everything the same, right?
Yeah.
So your sister's recent passing is the most recent trigger.
Yeah.
And all of the family stuff around that, right? Like, hold on, where's my... I want to move it. Anyway, it's not letting me move it. But that was the most recent trigger. You have done really well at making the anger a behavior and not doing it, but I think it's still on the inside.
Oh, it's on the inside.
Yeah.
Only my husband knows where those buttons are, but boy, he knows where to push them.
Yes, they're good at that. A lot of injustice, we're going to kind of put that in the middle. Like it's really even part of the depression as a whole, because there's just been so much injustice. We know that, and you're getting really good at this. You know what your negative thoughts are, and you know you are good enough, and you know how to talk yourself out of that.
I do.
Right? You know, we're going to call this what it is, and your relationship with your mom was trauma.
Yes, I fully believe that.
Which, you know, you may or may not want to treat it from a mental health perspective as trauma, but acknowledging it, I think for you, the bigger thing here is this, and grief. And so if I had to pick one thing that I was going to make you work on, I would say grief. You've got your sister. mother, your stepfather, and even there is.
I can add one more.
Mm-hmm.
The baby.
Mm-hmm. Did you name the baby?
No. But the baby was due May 1st.
Do you have an intuition over whether it was a girl or boy?
I already knew it was a boy. I was far enough along, and I never had a son.
Mm-hmm. What would you name him?
We were going to name, Sam was going to be our first boy. She was supposed to be a boy. We were going to name him Anthony Patrick. But I should have him. That's so unfair. That's my body, my right. Yes. Would I have sucked as a 13-year-old mother? Yes. But I sucked as a 15-year-old mother too, so that was my right.
Mm-hmm. I'm going to add something else here too. That's a grief.
Yeah. I didn't have a normal one, that's for sure. Not too many people had to come home to take care of their drunk mother in the middle of the day because she couldn't do her job and take care of children. That sucked. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And my brother was golden. Got to have a kegger at the age of 15.
Mm-hmm.
He just, that's probably why he's the way he is today, but I couldn't even leave the front yard. I was stuck. I couldn't leave I couldn't even go outside and play basketball with the boys. I couldn't be on the street. I was going to get pregnant.
Yeah. So we know we've got some other things, but this is actually where I want you to focus now. Now you've watched me go through grief publicly and things like that. What kind of things, what is your power of choice around this grief?
I don't know. Do I have a choice?
Well, you have a choice of whether you grieve or not, but the anger is going to keep coming up.
I know.
Because you keep telling yourself you don't need to grieve these people because of the injustices and the trauma and the, you didn't even like your mom.
No.
Right?
Not at all.
But you still cared. And I see this as an adult, and you even care about people that you don't necessarily like. You care.
I care about everybody. Everybody has a chance to make a difference in life and be a good person.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. I don't know how I got that.
That's okay.
With such shitty parents, how did I get the caring part?
Mm-hmm. But can you own it? Instead of trying to pretend like you don't care?
I can try. It's going to be hard, but I'll try.
Mm-hmm.
I do care, and I do see now that I do need to grieve. As I get older and more people this starts happening to, it's just stacking up. I see it. How do you start?
Well, making a choice that you're going to acknowledge that you need to and want to.
I do want to. I do. I'd love to not have to get emotional when you talk about this stuff. I want to be able to just do it without crying.
Well, that's not fair, though.
I know.
Grief is pain. Why would you not cry? What you want is, well, I shouldn't tell you what you want, but what would be a healthier want is for it not to come out in anger.
Yes.
Right? that, but 10 years from now, if you're in an intimate conversation like this, you might cry. That's okay.
Yeah.
Because why?
Because that means I care. Yeah, I do care. Yeah. Do you ever wonder why we care?
Yeah, and sometimes I wish I didn't, right? But
Still
when
do.
I wish I didn't, then that just puts the anger towards myself.
Yeah. I don't
And
get
it's not-
angry at myself too often because I have to give myself a break. I've tried really hard. So it's the best I can do.
Yeah. So we do the whole controlled grief, right? Feel the pain.
Yep.
You know. One of the things that I think is associated with grief is spiritual conflict.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah, I'm very, there's a big conflict for me there.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, Anthony, where is Anthony right now?
I hope he's in heaven. I hope he's in a better place.
And what about your mom?
I hope she's not at the same place as he is. She doesn't deserve. She definitely doesn't deserve to be anywhere around him.
But what if they've reconciled and are living happily?
Oh, that would be so hard. I've never thought of that. I don't. I mean, I guess the same way I raised my girls now, that my relationship with my mother is my relationship with my mother. And if they ever wanted a relationship with their grandmother, I would not hold them back. So I guess I would want him. He should be able to decide who he wants to have relationships with. So yeah. I don't. Yeah, I'm okay with it.
Well, and when you put the spiritual conflict into the grief, you've got to kind of dig deep. And what do you believe happens after someone dies?
I do believe there's a better place. I do hope that it's everything that you're raised, that there is a better place, and they're with you always, and they you get to see them again eventually.
Do you think that there's a possibility that your mother and sister could be kind people
Could be kind to people.
in this better place?
I hope so. I do believe my sister could be a better person. I don't have full faith in my mother being a good person.
Yeah.
I've never known her to be a good person, so I don't. I mean, not only was she not a good mother, she was not a good person. She was nasty to everybody. And I don't understand that. And then, do you want to go through life like that?
What would it take for you to forgive her?
I guess her to just say she's sorry. Can't take any of it back. But at least say you're sorry. Yeah, I think an apology, if it was an honest, truthful, and I think that's really all I need. but I'll never get it.
Well, it depends what you believe spiritually, of whether
True.
you'll never get it.
Yeah. I mean, for my first year here, my mom used to leave really long voicemails until she was cut off on my cell phone. And I would never delete them. I kept saving them, saving them, saving them. I was here.
Because I care. You have to recognize that
I do.
you know, and you held on to that
All of them.
because you care.
Yep. Until my daughter told her counselor here at Mentally Strong. And my daughter's counselor made me do some homework. And made me delete those off my phone.
Well, they shouldn't have made you delete them. That should have been it, that if that was your choice.
It was. We worked through it. And then I deleted it. And I actually felt really good. So.
Were they negative? Like they were nasty
Oh,
to you?
nasty.
Oh, and so you were feeding into the negative by re-listening to them. Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Just telling me what a horrible person I am, a horrible mother, horrible wife, you know, that kind of a drunk, upset phone call of just rambling about how horrible I am. But yeah, I kept saving them and then listening to them. And I do see where that's very unhealthy. I didn't see that until she pointed it out. But I didn't even notice that my daughter, that stuck with her. Then I felt bad because that had nothing to do with Sam. And just the fact that we're close enough to where she knew that I had those hurtful messages, for that to come up in her session made me feel kind of like a bad mom. Because she should have never been involved or seen my pain in that way.
And I don't know if that's anytime soon, but that, you know, forgiveness should be...
Yeah, it's going to take a while. Yeah.
But I think working through some of this, like digging deep, what do I believe? Not what was I told, not what the church says or this person says. Like, what do I believe? What have I experienced?
I do think that there's a higher power. I do think that there's a better... I do think there's a second chance for us when we pass away. I do believe that we're going to see each other again. I do believe all that. But I don't believe in like the church or a certain faith telling me that because you did this, and you didn't check these boxes, that you're automatically going to hell, and you're not. I think as long as you're in the core a good person, there's a good place for you to go.
So what happens to your mom?
I don't know if she has a good core. I never saw it.
Did you ever know her as not an addict?
No.
Yeah. So, I mean, she could be like your sister. Like, you remember your sister before she was an addict.
Yeah, I didn't know my mom without... I mean, I grew up with her making her own alcohol on the stove. That's all I can... I can remember smelling alcohol throughout the house. So, yeah. No, it was normal, you know, for us to start off with orange juice for breakfast and my mom to have vodka in her orange juice. So that to me is horrible.
You've done a lot of work in the last couple years. Where do you think your next steps of focusing on healing?
I'm going to have to feel the pain now.
Sorry, you volunteered for this.
I do realize I never thought. I knew I was angry. I knew I was sad. I knew I was depressed. but I never put it towards grief.
Yeah. And grief, in the end, is different than trauma, right? Trauma is about letting it go. Grief is about cherishing. And even cherishing these few months that you had with Anthony, right? Cherishing who you were as a child.
Yeah.
Yes, you have to grieve that it was robbed, right? Like
Yeah.
it was taken away way too early. But you're still like getting to know who was that little girl,
Yeah.
and cherishing that relationship and letting go of the trauma. And that's why we separate it,
Yeah.
right? A lot of the reasons that you were robbed of your childhood were traumatic, right? But if we could separate those and release the trauma and embrace that girl that cares and is kind and wants everyone to be happy.
Yeah, this is going to be the hard part, I think, because I used to be ashamed. And then raising two girls, I'm not ashamed. Every mistake you make, you learn a lesson, whether it be a really hard lesson but you learn from that, and it makes you, all those experiences made me who I am today.
Mm-hmm.
So, wouldn't have happened if I didn't take that off-road path.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I do sometimes, I don't know if that would be considered trauma or grief, but wish that I would have had a normal childhood like my husband.
Yeah. Well, that is grief, but what happens when we have trauma in our childhood, it gets enmeshed. And so you start trying to grieve this, and what you do is you just think about all these traumatic events, and that's rumination.
Yeah.
Right?
And then comparing myself to somebody else's experience, you're like, how did you get so lucky? And I drew the short straw. I don't understand. I don't understand why some people can go through life and it be so easy. And some people goes through much more.
That's an injustice.
Yeah.
Makes you a different kind of person, right? You said before,
It does.
you know, the lessons you've learned.
Yeah, and for a long time I was ashamed. I was ashamed of everything. Don't tell anybody, but I'm not ashamed.
And it's hard when this is your core,
Yeah,
right? And then you see no one else gives a shit.
yeah,
I mean, a lot of people don't care.
it's true.
Right.
Yeah, yeah,
So then we try to convince ourselves that we don't care, but we do care.
I do.
So then it creates this conflict inside of us.
Yeah, yeah. Unfortunately, I do. I care too much.
No, stop saying too much.
Oh, I care.
I care. It is who I am. Like, I care. Sometimes it sucks that I care,
It does.
right? Like, instead of saying like I care too much, because then that makes it like there's something wrong with you.
You're right.
You know, I care, and it sucks when other people don't. You know? Or it hurts.
When
You
other
know.
people don't. Yes, it does. Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
Are you glad you volunteered or not?
I do. I feel better, actually. You opened my eyes a little bit to a few things. Yeah, it is emotional and hard, but I didn't realize if you would have said you have grief, I would have been like, I don't have any grief. I have anger, depression, but I don't have grief, but I do. So, yeah.
So just, go through the process of that. Say his name. It took you, you hesitated on telling me that you had named him. And you know, whatever you have to do to bring up that memory, what kind of man would he be?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
try to connect spiritually to what that means, you know.
We do grieve him kind of as a family. My girls celebrate it. May 1st is always a hard day for me. And for you. And they're really good about making sure I don't forget about him.
So you guys have been doing some grief around that, yeah.
Yeah. The girls have been really good. I mean, from years ago, they've made sure that instead of making this a difficult day, we celebrate the day. So, yeah. But again, coming back to how things work, if I would have had him, I wouldn't have had Sam. And Sam and I grew up together. Sometimes I kind of feel like my other half, my best bud.
Yeah.
But she could also make me the most angry too. So, so I do think about him quite often, but things happen for a reason.
Yeah. Well, and she's pushing the mom buttons because you haven't dealt with mom. You haven't grieved her death. You haven't grieved your childhood. You haven't worked through that trauma and forgiven her.
How do you forgive somebody for being so awful? And not just to me. She's awful to everybody. Like, why be on this earth if you're going to be a nasty human to everybody? It's just, that's the part I don't understand. Why is she here? Why is she my mom? But then again, I had a stepmom that never gave up on me. So I owe a lot to her.
But some of those why questions are spiritual questions.
They are. I see a lot of them being,
And not, not that there's an answer to her evil, but it's like, even like, why was she here? That's a spiritual question.
Yeah, why was she here?
Right.
Yeah.
So it all comes down to mom.
Yeah. And boy, did I know I had mom issues from the beginning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you have some homework.
Okay.
Tell me 3 things that you learned from today.
3 things. I learned quite a bit. Grieving really shocks me. I didn't realize that all this was tied to not grieving. I thought I was trying my best to work through it the best I could. But I see it. I do see it. And it's all just going to build up if I don't start working on it now. So that my behaviors sticks out because it's exactly, well, you got me in a bubble. I mean, this is crazy that you can link all this back and pick it apart to my mom.
Well, you're so angry at her.
Yes.
And when somebody acts like her,
Yep.
or when someone insinuates that you might be like her,
Yep.
that's
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not her. I'm also going to take away from this. I really want to work on all this. Not good enough, not smart enough, good enough, failed, missed opportunities. That's sad. I don't want to waste time in this. So I need to change. That's a waste of my energy. So I got to work on that.
good.